Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast all about thinking better thoughts so you can create some better results in your life. I am your co-host, Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor, here today with the beautiful and amazing
Caitlin Foyer, Motivation and Empowerment Specialist.
Well, how can the disruptor and the motivation specialist disrupt and inspire people today? What are we going to talk about?
I want to talk about information overload and just really, we live in a world where there's so much information. Podcasts, YouTube videos, coaches, coaching programs,
Conferences, events,
everything, right? Like information is just being thrown at us all day, every day from all different avenues. And so we don't live in a time where we don't know what to do. We just have like almost an allergy to actually implementing what we do know.
Yes.
Why is that?
Yes.
What is that?
Well, let's dive into it because I think, at some level, it's just human nature. It's the way the mind works. But it's interesting because, yes, today, present moment, we live in information overload. But, my home improvement career is, 30 plus years. And I remember in my early 20s going to conferences and getting information. And back then, the speed of information was way slower than it is today. Mm-hmm. But even then, 20, 30 years ago, we still had more information coming at us than we could process. So I think it's really understanding what's the difference between seeking knowing and seeking implementation.
It's like, not just learning, but living what you learn.
Yes.
That's where the disconnect comes for so many people, right?
And not just knowing it, but actually doing it and trying to figure out. And I remember when I first started working with Bob Proctor, it was the first time I'd heard kind of the term, anything you do is 95% mindset, 5% mechanics.
Yeah.
And you think about that. We talk a lot about sales. In sales, you have a good process. At the end of the day, the process is about 5% of it. The 95% is applying with knowledge the process, with knowledge, the belief in the products, the materials, and the price, and getting what you know down to a level where it actually comes out as behavior. And, I don't know. I think diving in, first of all, is how do we process information, right? We see it, we hear it.
All five senses, right?
All five senses taking it in. We've kind of talked about this a little bit in some of our groups and even I think on past episodes, but I've been taking a deep dive to the evolution of the human mind. And basically, there is not really an evolution of the human mind. The mind we operate with present day, and the research I was doing, 4,000 years, 40,000 years of existence, whatever it is, key components of our mind haven't changed. The fight, flight, or freeze response. It's the same today as it was hundreds of years ago. The ability to process information. In one single day, you and I and everybody listening, you get bombarded with more information in a single day than some of our ancestors received in their entire 70, 80-year lifespan.
Well, not even like, you don't have to say ancestors. I know that that's a broad term, but even my grandparents.
Yes.
I mean,
just 2 generations.
2 generations ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, you could say even a generation ago, our parents, since the invention of the internet.
Well, I'll date myself a little bit. I'm 52 years old, and in my lifetime in the home improvement industry, when I started my dad's company, we wrote down our purchase orders.
That's
and
right.
We called them in manually. You had to order every line. It was such a time. And I remember unboxing our first fax machine. It was a game changer, a fax machine, right? Yeah. This is way before the internet. Cell phones. My dad's first cell phone, he was the first one in my life and in our company.
Did it connect to his car?
Yeah. It was a car phone. And the funniest thing about that thing is he couldn't figure out how to work it. We'd be measuring a job and his car would start honking and he didn't know how to turn it off. But you think about, I went from a pager to these brick cell phones to a fax machine to the internet, and since that time, for me, I think it was mid-90s, to 2025, today we have apps on our phone. We have AI. Like Caitlin said at the beginning of the episode, my list of books to read and podcasts to listen to is more than I can get to probably in the next 5 years, honestly.
Yeah.
Even
if it was your full-time job. If your full-time job was to read books and listen to podcasts, it would take you over 5 years to get over the collection of just what you want to do.
Yes.
Right? It is insane. And so it's crazy. We are like these collectors of knowledge. People are, and more than ever, even more than, 30 years ago. But there's this difference of when can that start to change you, right? Like when can that really lead to growth? Because the growth only matters when it is in your energy, when it's in your relationships, when it's showing up effortlessly because it's part of who you are. And I think one thing I want to hit on this episode is I know so many people who are addicted to knowledge, and I'm one of them. I'm a huge fact finder. It's my second top motivation in the disc. I have a real love of knowledge. I know knowledge is power, but I see it where it becomes almost procrastination for people. They think I'm just going to get all the information I can, and then they procrastinate actually doing anything with it.
Well, when you said knowledge is power, I want to correct that a little bit because applied knowledge is power. You have to apply what you learn. And again, we live, if you're in the home improvement space, listen to this, how many events a year can you go to? And I've been going to these events.
It depends on who you talk to. Yeah. I know someone who says the limit does not exist.
Yeah, they go to at least 1 or 2 a month, and everyone they go to, they're getting new information. They're, I've been at home improvement, since the invention of the cell phone. People are taking pictures of the same slides, going to the same events year after year, collecting the knowledge. And I guess for you right now listening, we call it the knowing doing gap. What do you know right now that you should be doing and you're not? I mean, to me, that's the first step. If you want to take applied knowledge and actually apply it, you have to make some decisions and decide, what's important and what's been blocking you. So many people have information. Let's talk outside of business, health and wellness, to get in better shape. We know what we need to do. Eat better, maybe sleep enough.
Drink more water.
Work out once in a while.
Do some inner work.
That's not information that's unknown. Like so many people that I know, love, and care about have this knowing, and yet there's a gap that's keeping them from actually implementing it. In business, I need to change my sales process. I need to raise my price.
I need to hire this person.
I need to EOS. It's an amazing system. I know so many people that are teeter-tottering. They have the information. They know it would benefit their business, but they're not doing anything with it. So, Caitlin, how do we integrate? How do we take knowledge, things that we know that we're not doing, that we're not implementing, and take them to implementation into our life?
Yeah, because I think so many people get a false sense of progress from getting information. They're chasing information constantly, so it gives them like a false sense of progress. Like I'm learning, but you're not doing anything with it. And it's hard because procrastination is not something that I really do. My ADHD doesn't let me. It's like I know I either need to do it now or I need to do it in the future.
Or never.
No, it's still the future. We don't know. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 years. It could be 50 years. It's just, I know that I need to do things now, or it will be sometime in the future. And again, 5 minutes, 50 years. I don't know. So I'm very much like, get it done now. Let's go. It's annoying to a lot of people, but it helps me get things done. But that's because it's almost like if I'm being honest, a scarcity mindset for me. I know that I need to do it now, or I'm afraid it's not going to happen. And that's scarcity at some level. And so that's a rabbit hole we could go down another time. But I think a lot of people have these self-limiting beliefs about themselves. And that is why they don't implement the information that they get. They don't even know they have a knowing doing gap. They just think, I can't do this, or, I didn't do it in this time frame I needed to, so I better never do it. And it a lot of times it's from these programs that were programmed into us that we didn't even program into ourselves.
Yeah.
We saw someone else do it. It was my mom was always late, so I'm always late. My dad never completed what he said he was going to do, and he's fine, so I can do that too. It's whatever it is, right? Or maybe at some level someone doesn't feel worthy of actually implementing the information because they know it's scary to think, if I actually do this, my growth is going to be so amazing. It's scary. I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's a comfort trap.
Well, and that gap you talk about, we call it the knowing doing gap, right? I know I want to do something, but I'm not actually doing it. What causes that gap? And I think what you just described there, 95% of our daily behavior comes from programmed pattern thoughts in the subconscious mind. Subconscious, below level of consciousness. We're not even aware we're doing it. You might wake up and think about that thing you heard at the conference last week, and I really need to do that. And you think about it for a split second, and then you go back into subconscious mode, which controls the way you get dressed, the way you do your hair, the way you drive your car, the way you run your day. And so really it's about integration. How do I integrate this knowledge into behavior? And, for the work that we do and my level of understanding with it, the only way to integrate it is to make it part of your daily process. And, we talk a lot about words like affirmation, visualization, spaced repetition of thought. That's really the best way I know to close the gap. If there's something that and again, in any area of life, business, health and wellness, relationships, the only way you're going to make it part of what you actually do is by repeating it over and over. And that might be, the first step. And this is one of my favorite things that I learned from Bob Proctor and we've applied in our program, Inner Blueprint, is repetition. You go through our program. We have people that have been going through our program for 4 and 5 years, listening to the same material over and over. But what that does is it programs into your mind that information, and our information is designed to get you to implement, to get you to overcome these limitations. But anything you do, if you go to a training, I used to teach a 5-day training course on sales process, right? Reps would sit in it for 5 days. They would go back. Statistically, they're going to remember 10% of what they heard. Mm-hmm. And yet then they're expected to go implement that every day in the home at 100%. That's not going to happen. It's going to take. So, as you're thinking about your life and even the people you work with and in your businesses, if you don't have training in place to take information and to repeat it over and over until it gets integrated, it's got a very high failure rate. That is one of the reasons we have people that are addicted to information, is because they get the information, they don't do anything with it. So they think going for more information will help them get what they didn't get from the first information.
It's that false sense of progress.
Yeah, because it feels like you're doing something because you're learning. But if you're learning things that you already at some level know,
and you're not implementing it, that's the issue. And that's why so many people stay in our program for so long. How many people are like, I'm in this for life? Because even though we're doing the same things over and over, they change because we change. My goals change. My affirmations change. What I want out of life, what I want out of every single day, it changes. I look back at the first things I wanted, the first inner blueprint goal that I wrote down, and I laugh at it now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was so scary, I could barely put it into words. And then it all came true so easily because of the repetition, because of the work, because of believing that I could do it and it was for me and I'm worthy of it. It came so much faster than I ever dreamed possible. The quantum leap I've made in 5 years as opposed to the 34 years prior to that is crazy. I have friends that don't recognize me. I have people in my life that are that were such a big part of my life that are no longer, because it triggers something in them. They see my growth and it scares them. They run from it. They hide from it because they don't want to do it themselves. And it's usually not even a conscious thought. It's a subconscious thought for them. It's a knowing, doing gap for them. I know I could do that because Caitlin did it or because Sean did it, but I'm scared. Something in me says I don't want to, or I can't, or that's not for me, or it must be nice. And so it really is, it's crazy because implementation is the key. And to do that, like you said, is repetition, because that creates consistency. Yes. And consistency will win all day, every day.
Yes. Well, and consistency in anything new creates a habit, right?
Yes.
We talk about the programming, part of your 95% are habits. And if you think about your daily habits, the daily habits that you have are what are integrating and implementing your knowledge. And if you don't have, a practice to implement, it's like, okay, I got some new information. How am I going to go about implementation? And for anybody we work with, and ourselves included, we do daily rituals, right? Daily writing, daily affirmation, daily meditation. That's how you're going to get knowledge to integration to full implementation, is take what you just learned and repeat it over and over, whether it's, listening to the same material over and over, writing some things for yourself, some auto-suggestion commands of action you need to take and saying it over and over. But that's what you can do for yourself. And then another cool part of the process is community. You have to create a support system for the progress you're trying to make. If you're on a sales team and you're trying to integrate something, it really helps if the whole team gets involved. If you got a new process, if you got a new technology you're trying to use, if you've got people around you, they'll support you. I mean, that's one thing we've done with our groups and our programs.
Our
is we create
masterminds.
masterminds that we have a bunch of people helping you to reinforce that knowledge, calling you out when they see you drifting off or not implementing the knowledge that you've gained.
Well, that brings up such a good point, because to be able to implement something, it really does take community. You don't have to be on an island trying to do it yourself. You have a community of people that have the same goals as you, right? And it goes back to the show me your friends, I'll show you your future. The amount of time that you spend with people in your life really has a direct correlation to how you live your life. It's proven that if you sit within a certain amount of feet of a high performer, you'll become a high performer. And the same goes for low performers. If you sit, in a certain amount of feet from a low performer consistently enough, you'll also become a low performer. So it's who are you surrounding yourself with to set yourself up for success? And that's why I do love our masterminds. We have them for leaders in the organizations. We have them for sales. We have them for women. We have them for men. We have them for so many different things, right? Where these people from all over the country and out of the country are showing up together, not just for themselves, but for each other, to hold each other accountable, to hold themselves accountable, to be on the same page doing the same things. Because a lot of people think, I have to get all this information, then I have to do it all myself. But it's proven that when you have other people to do it with, it works out better. It's like when we did 75 Hard, I had tried to do it 3 times prior. And then with you're like, we're doing it. And we did it. We did it over Halloween, which was a candy addict. We did it over Thanksgiving, over my birthday, all of these things where I had all the excuses to not do it. And I'd actually tried during that time of year, the year prior, and only made it like 30 something days. But because I had a community with you and with Janitha of people that I'm not just accountable to myself anymore, which is obviously the most important, but I'm accountable to these guys. And they're relying on me to do my work because I'm relying on them to do theirs, because we have to keep each other accountable. And that is why I love the work that we do, the program we have, and not just the program, because we could sell it as a self-study, but we know that the strength in it is from community.
Is the community, yes. And again, if you're thinking right now that you've got something in your life that that you'd like to implement it, the first step, and it's a powerful step, is making a decision, literally making a decision. And the unfortunate thing about human behavior is if it's something that we know, but there's going to be some discomfort or we're not sure how we're going to do it, procrastination kicks in. People have changes they need to make in their business or in their sales process that they know they need to make, but they keep kicking it off. In health and wellness, people know there's things they need to make. And for most people, it takes a crisis. It takes a health challenge. It takes something in the business. And one of the things we encourage people and with our work that we're really good at is identify it now. Don't wait until you get into crisis. Don't wait until something forces you to, pick one thing as you're listening today. There's got to be something coming up for you. Just one these guys
thing.
Are talking about this knowing doing gap. I know I need to do this.
You should DM us and tell us what it is. It will help hold you accountable.
Yes. But make a decision. There is so much power. And one of the biggest things that holds people back from decision is indecision. What if I make the wrong decision? What if all the what ifs? And you can't stop there. You need to, if you know it's good for you, if you know it's going to make a difference in your life, make a powerful decision. Make it today. I'm going to start implementing this thing into my life.
That brings up such a great point, because, implementation and integration is so much harder than just downloading information, because it requires presence. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it requires silence. Most of the time, it doesn't require more input. And a lot of people have issues where they can't make a decision and they're always looking for more input and more information, so then nothing gets done. But if you can just really hone in on, I have the information I need. I don't need more. With everything that I have right now in this moment, I know I need to make this change. I'm going to sit with this for a minute, and I'm going to make that decision to do it. And I'm not going to consult with a bunch of other people that can talk me out of it or give me another excuse as to why I shouldn't do it, or give myself another excuse. But I'm going to actually go inside, go within to make that stick. It's hard. It's challenging, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Well, I think, if you set yourself a minimum of 30 days to try to implement anything, it's going to take at least 30 days to start the neural pathways to making it a habit. And like Caitlin said, you make the decision and then you start with presence, with intention. Every single day, you just spend a few minutes, and maybe even meditation. We talked earlier in the episode about information overload. When does the stimuli stop? When does the phone get put away? When do you not look at your computer? When do you not have a screen in front of you? When are you not paying attention and listening to everything around you and just sitting in silence with your thoughts and with your intention to implement this process? And I know, for me in the busy world we live in, some of my sacred time is I spend 22 minutes in a hot sauna, 170 degrees. It's one of the only times that I don't have a screen in front of me, that I don't have voices around me, that I'm literally able to just get present in my body and think about what is it I'm really trying to do right now. And I do bounce from the different areas of my life, but let's say I'm thinking of health and wellness. What do I know right now that I should be doing, or maybe it's something I need to cut out, and just spending 30 minutes every single day for 30 days and really start to integrate that, knowing and impress it upon your subconscious, because once it becomes impressed on your subconscious, the cybernetic mechanism inside of you, we are goal-seeking beings. You think about a newborn baby. How does it learn how to walk? It observes everything around it. It sees people walking, and once it gets set in its mind that that's what it's going to do, nothing's going to stop it. You watch little babies, they get up, they fall, they get scared, they cry, but they keep going. And in mindset, when we're trying to integrate to implementation, once you make that decision and set it for at least 30 days, now it becomes a goal. Now it becomes something that you don't just know, it's something you're on your way to doing.
Yeah, so people should ask themselves, am I learning just to learn, or am I living what I'm learning? Am I ready to truly embody what I already know? And that's a hard question. It's a lot of people think, I don't know enough. But when you actually start living what you already know, what you have learned, when you start implementing that, it creates more space for the right and correct and most useful information to continue you on a path of that decision you already made, right?
Yeah. And when we talk about affirming or doing anything different in mindset, you're saying it all present tense as if it's already done. So if you've got some knowledge you're trying to make integrated into implementation, start thinking and speaking as if it's already done.
Yeah.
I was saying in mindset where I say, are you trying? Are you doing? Or is it done? Because if you're trying to do something, you're going to keep trying.
Trying is lying.
If you're in the process, I'm doing this, but you're not getting the result, you're spinning your wheels. But if you literally go to the point in your mind where you say, I'm making this decision and it's done in my mind. I mean, going back, when we tried 75 hard the
Not
first
tried.
time.
We did
Well, no, we tried it.
Okay.
You tried it before. We were trying it again.
Yes.
But I said, I don't want to try this. So we're getting it out of trying. We're getting out of doing. It's done. And, we had some words that I came up with. Well, first of all, I don't want it to be hard. If it's done in my mind, I want it to be easy. So you remember we nicknamed it 75 easy because
we still did all the 75 hard, but we told ourselves this was easy.
It was 75
we
easy.
made it easy in our
mind.
mind.
It's done in my mind, and we're now just going to walk through the steps, but we started with the end in mind. It's already done. And so if you start thinking about, you want to start exercising, and it's been years since you've exercised, before you take one step into a gym or one step outside to go for a walk, start in your mind visualizing, affirming, saying it's already done. I'm already active and healthy. I'm living in the body of my dreams. I'm active every single day. I spend 30 minutes. And, I've recommended people do this for a couple weeks before they even go to action. Because the problem is we go to action before we have the new belief, we fall back into the old patterns very rapidly.
Yeah. 100%. So, I mean, like Sean mentioned earlier, if we gave you one action step, ask yourself probably am I learning just to learn, or am I learning to live it, right? Am I actually living it? Am I living what I already know? And then choose one thing for 30 days. And instead of just talking about it, actually do it, right? So do that. And if you are interested in our programs, obviously reach out to us, and we have groups that will hold you accountable. If you're in the home improvement space, we've got a group for you, which is amazing. Because I think a lot of life is, this is where the difference is. And this is what I think this episode really hits on for me is knowledge is what you know, but wisdom is how you live. Right? Because knowledge is all about what can I know, what can I just see, knowledge. But wisdom, everybody wants to be wise. They want wisdom. That shows up in how you live. And so that's taking that idea or that want and actually embodying it and making it who you are. And you turn that, and we have some clients who are so good at that, like Becca Erdman. That woman, you tell her to do something, she's like, done. And she doesn't just do it to check it off a list. She does it to get the result she wants. And then she makes it part of who she is.
Yes, and she goes through the process. She's very black and white. Either I'm going to do it or I'm not. If I decide to do it, there's no excuses.
Yep.
I'm holding in my mind it's already done. I'm taking action on it every single day. And yeah, it's one of the best I know at implementation. One of the other things too is a lot of times when we're trying to take it from knowledge, we get caught up in how we're going to do it.
Always.
We get caught up in how. And that's,
what time am I going to be able to go to the gym? What about on this day when I have to do this or this day or that? And I can't do it on Wednesdays because Wednesdays I have we go to the how and we start to tell ourselves all the reasons why we can't.
Yeah. I mean, in the last, 6 months, we've had multiple clients. One, his goal for the round, and he had no idea how he was going to do it, was to get his mother from Venezuela to the United States. We could see her.
And they'd been trying for years.
Years. And they didn't know how. And I asked him, I said, just trust me in this process. Just get in this round, set the intention. You don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And before the end of the round, he got on the call with his mom in the background. Some changes happened in some of the regulations around it. Some things synchronistically fell together. And letting go of the how and just leaning into belief. We just recorded an episode with a gentleman who's been a client of ours for a while. He spent his entire life battling health challenges to the point he couldn't eat.
And his only goal was, I just want to be healthy.
I just want to be healthy, and I want to be able to eat without a feeding tube. And years of specialists and doctors were just almost 30 years of life.
This is just how it is. And a surgeon from UCLA moved to Virginia to his local hospital, and he was able to have a groundbreaking surgery where he doesn't need, he has no health problems right now.
Yeah.
After 30 years of that, to have nothing. That's amazing.
And he asked for it, he believed in it, and he forgot about the how. We look at income. We've had reps that have sold more in the first quarter of this year than they did all of last year. Just making a decision, letting go of the how, and leaning into some of the techniques we talk about on belief systems and self-affirmation. So it really is a powerful process. And if you're somebody who has a lot of knowing, you're not 100% happy with your results, and you need to get better at implementation, hopefully we've given you some tips and tricks that you can take it from an idea, from a knowing, and really get it to the level that it's programmed into your mind and it's now part of your behavior.
It's just who you are.
It's who you are.
It's who you are.
I love it. Anything else, Caitlin?
No, I think that was good. But yeah, I would love to hear from any of our listeners. If you want to DM us, me or Sean on Instagram, Kate Foyer, Sean Foyer, let us know what that one thing is going to be for the next 30 days that you do. We'll help hold you accountable. We'll give you tips and tricks. Yeah,
and again, you have to really get clear and make a decision. I mean, I can't overemphasize, it all starts with the power of a decision. Because once you decide and go all in your mind that I'm making this decision, I'm going to get this result, once you dial in on that, the only thing that is going to stop you is if you change your mind. If you change your mind, if you're dedicated, and again, it doesn't take a lot of time.
No.
It's more about consistency than it is the amount of time.
Repetition,
5 minutes a day, 5 minutes
repetition.
a day, over and over and over, taking it. I think back, a lot of the work that we do is based on the book Think and Grow Rich, written 1938.
No new knowledge, 1938.
And a lot of people have read this book, as I go out and survey, and they've read it, and they've read it one time. And they know the information.
I say, what are the principles? And they're like,
They haven't got the results out of it.
Because they don't study it.
My mentor, Bob Proctor, would say, Napoleon Hill took 20 years to study and develop the information in this book. If he dedicated 20 years of his life to writing it, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to studying it. And he spent 50 years studying that book. And a lot of the information we're talking about today comes not only from Think and Grow Rich, but from Bob's application of understanding how the mind works. And again, let's go back just one more time for a revision. 95% of your daily activity is filtered and programmed through your subconscious mind. So if you're asking yourself, why am I not doing this thing I want to do? Why am I not integrating this knowledge into behavior? It's because your behavior is programmed. 95% of your behavior is programmed from the past, from other people, from information that was repeated over and over. And if you're not doing something on the daily to change and shift that programming, you can collect all this information for the next 20 years and never do anything with it. Yep. Our mission, the reason we do this podcast, the reason we do the work that we do is to help people get out of indecision into decision and integrate the knowing that you have. Making
sure you do the repetition that works for you, not just the repetition that you're used to that isn't working for you.
Yeah.
Because you are going through repetitive motions every single day. And if you're not decisive and present with what those are, then you're letting life live you. You're not living life.
Yeah. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. The only way you're going to get a different result is if you do something different. And the only way to consistently do something different is to make it a new habit, a new belief, a new paradigm. And, again, going back just for recap, I've worked with business owners over the last decade that have been stuck at a certain level in their business. They had all the information. They had the systems, the processes.
All the knowledge.
All the knowing. And the last couple of years, applying these techniques, changing the mindset, changing the belief, taking what they know, getting rid of the limiting beliefs that are around it and fully integrating it. We are seeing companies right now take off. I've seen several companies in the last 6 months go from their annual revenue to quadrupling it.
I mean, one company, for example, what they used to do in a year, they did in a month.
Yes.
It's crazy.
And people on the outside are saying, well, this doesn't make sense. What are they doing?
Of course it doesn't make
differently?
sense.
They're not doing anything differently. They're consistently working to integrate the knowing they have into actual doing. And again, it's called the knowing doing gap. Ask yourself, what do I know right now that if I did it would make my money better, my health and wellness better, or my relationship better? And get it off of Someday Island. Get it off of something that you've been thinking about for a while. Make the decision. Put some daily rituals in place. 5 to 10 minutes every single day. Focus on it. Do it for 30 days. You'll see some progress. Do it for another 30 days. You'll see some progress. Keep doing it. And
do it for 30 years.
Mindset work. I'm addicted to it. I used to be addicted to knowledge, but as we said,
you're addicted to action now.
No, I love taking information and actually doing something with it. And the only way I know to effectively do it is to make it a program, make it part of my mindset.
Just who you are.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening today. If you liked what we talked about, hit the subscribe button. If you know somebody that has a knowing doing gap or could use this information today, please share it with them.
Share it with them, definitely.
Yes, and we'd love to hear from you too. We do this work for impact, and we like to know we're making impact by hearing from listeners. We love questions. We love you sharing your wins. So please share this knowledge, share this information, and if there's anything we can do to help you, please reach out. As always, enjoy the ride. It's a good one. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride.